themselves to be quite lucky. And a significant extra percent believe themselves to be unlucky. What's that? That's just a quarter of that, 33. And the remainder, this is my unlucky one, this is unlucky. And the people down here think they're either neither lucky or unlucky. And it's very interesting. They did a program about luck on BBC television about 3 or 4 months ago, and they took some people to a casino in Leicester Square in London. And they had one group of people who thought that they were very unlucky. And they set them playing on a roulette table. And had some people over here who thought they were very lucky. That was their belief in themselves. They were on the 50% over there, thought they were very lucky. And they set them playing roulette at a roulette table. The strange thing was that because it's completely random, the unlucky people started to win. Started to make quite a lot of money. And the lucky people started to lose. But when they stopped after about an hour, this was playing, and they said, well, to the unlucky people, how do you feel? They said, oh, well, this can't last. Because I know sooner or later it's all going to go the other way. You know, this is just a temporary hiccup in the whole scheme of things because I'm always unlucky. But they said to the lucky people who lost quite a lot of money, how do you feel? I said, oh, it's only temporary. We'll soon be back where we are again. Yeah? So really, where does luck reside, this thought or concept of luck?
In your mind.
It's in your mind. And yet,
It's linked to attitude again.
it's linked to your attitude again, you're quite right. But when Richard Wiseman sat down to analyse luck, he discovered there are 4 things that you can do. And we're going to discuss, and I've written my notes here, I've written notes like this, I don't want to go on too long. 4 things that lucky people do, we're going to handle each one of them, that any one of you can copy. And what I want you to do is between now and the next session, I hope you're going to come to the next session because it's we're going to go on to all this other stuff. I want you to keep a record of what happened when you if you do all of these things. First of all, let's see which areas you're proficient or deficient in. I'm going to ask you 4 questions. I'm going to answer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 questions. And your first question is, you can write it down if you like. 3 questions of these. First one. Don't do anything for just a moment. I talk to strangers that I meet on the train or on the bus or on a plane or in the butchers or wherever it happens to be. I do not feel worried or anxious very often. I am open to new experiences. Now, I'll go through those 3 again. I sometimes talk to strangers when I meet them in the street or on the post office or the butchers or post office, wherever I happen to be. The second question is, I don't feel worried or anxious very often. And the third question is, I'm open to new experiences. Now, for each one of those, if you are, let's say, I very rarely talk to strangers because I'm very shy and I really don't like it, and give yourself a 1. That's the worst mark you can give. But if you do it all the time, like me, give yourself a 5. So the first one, I sometimes talk to strangers in the train, in the post office, on the bus, wherever it happens to be. If you don't ever do it because you're a bit shy, it doesn't matter what the answer is. If you're shy, you're shy. Give yourself a 1. If you do it all the time, give yourself a 5. And the same for the second question. I do not tend to feel worried or anxious very often. If you're always feeling worried or anxious, give yourself a 1. If you're sort of in the middle, you give yourself a 3. If you never feel worried or anxious, give yourself a 5. Just get on with life. And the third thing is, I'm open to new experiences. If you're really open to new experiences, give yourself a 5. So you say yes, somebody says you come up and do bungee jumping, you say, yeah, I come, and you always say yes, then give yourself a 5. You say, well, it's a bit dangerous, I don't know, I like my comfort zone, give yourself a 1. Now, for those 3 questions, I want you to add up your score, please. Sometimes talk to strangers. I tend not to feel worried or anxious. I hope to the experiences. Your maximum score has got to be 15. Your minimum score 3. Anybody get 15? Very good. Anybody get 14? 13? 12? 11? 10? 9? 8? 7? 6? If you've got less than 11, it's an area of your life you really need to pick up on. You've got to make contact a little bit more. Make contact with other human beings.
It's not the contact, it's the worrying.
Is it?
That's my bit.
But if they're all in one, it's your openness to new experiences is what's the important thing is. It's maximising your lucky opportunities. Again, like we said, when the strange man comes into the room, he's acting confident. He probably doesn't feel confident. About a year ago, I was interviewed by the Financial Times. A journalist I sort of vaguely know wanted to do a piece, a little article on confidence. He said, "What is it? Do you have it?" I said, "Yeah, I've got it." But I said, "Really?" I whispered to him, "It's bullshit." Because nobody knows what's going to happen next, and people who appear confident are just acting confident. And when I was learning to fly an airplane, this is 20 years ago, my instructor, a fellow called Dave Lawrence, he said, when you're talking on the radio in an aeroplane, of course you come near an airport, you want to land, and they've got a line you off with all the other planes, you press the button and you talk to them and tell them what you're going to do. And sometimes you get lost, so you do get lost in airplanes. So you haven't got all the big things they've got in commercial jets, you've got a little Piper or a Cessna putting over Sussex, and you suddenly get a bit cloudy, well, where am I? He said the worst thing you can do is to press the button to your nearest local airport and say, "I'm lost." Oh, what am I going to do? I don't know where I'm going. Because that radio signal is radiating around 20, 30 miles to planes going into Gatwick, Heathrow, everywhere else. God, where is this bloke? We're in the fog, you know? And it makes everybody else start to panic. He said, instead, what you say in a very confident voice, however nervous you're feeling inside, you never use the word lost. You say, "Begin approach, this is Golf Bravo Sierra Victor Mike, I'm temporarily unsure of my position." You say it in a very confident voice. So sometimes you act confident, even when you don't feel it. You remember the musical The King and I? There's a song in that. "Whenever I feel afraid, I hold my head erect, I whistle a happy tune, and no one will suspect I'm afraid. For the result of this deception is very plain to tell, for when I fool the people I meet, I fool myself as well." Years and years ago, President Lincoln in America was asked whether he was ever frightened. Especially when he was a young man living in the wild woods, fighting the grizzly bears and the red Indians. And this journalist on the New York Times said, "Mr. President, were you ever frightened? Have you ever been frightened?" And he said, "Of course I have. Of course I am sometimes. But I pretend not to be, and very soon I'm not." So sometimes when you get nervous or anxious, pretend not to be. Just pretend, put on an act. Seriously, put on an act. Next time, agree with yourself just to do it for 5 minutes. Because I wouldn't have known unless you told me that you got nervous or anxious.
I don't get nervous or anxious. I'm talking about, I'm a worrier by nature.
A worrier.
That's a little bit
Okay. But Joan Baez, remember the pop singer Joan Baez? I mean, some of us are, I do because I'm old, right? She said the best antidote to despair is action. If you're feeling desperate and miserable and worried, get out, go for a walk. Get your body moving. You won't find it works the other way around. It's no good going to your local church hall, sitting on the ground doing a yoga class once a week, going on. You're going to feel just as worried by the end of it. Once you get out there and start acting in a different way, you'll start after about 10 minutes, I feel better now. Seriously, this is what I do, because I'm a bit of a worrier as well, and I don't ever admit it to myself. Right? Seriously, this is what you've got to do. So some stuff you've got to do. We'll look at some of the little things you can do in that area. So this is, you're only 1 point down on that. It's only probably below 11. Right? Not bad. All I'm asking you to do is put on an act for me. Next time you feel a bit worried, say, I mean, all the things you worry about, how many of them actually happened? Aha! You see? This is what Winston Churchill said. He said, "I've had a lot of bad luck in my life, and most of it never happened." It's your imagination, it's the fear factor. Most of us are motivated more by fear and loss than anything else. I mean, if I said to you, if I gave you, if I'm feeling very good about this, and I gave you my lottery ticket for tomorrow night, because I'm feeling a nice guy, and then it comes about 5 o'clock this evening, and I say, I'm starting to feel a bit lucky about tomorrow, and I think tomorrow's going to be a lucky day. Can I have my lottery ticket back? Would you give it to me? No. See? Because the concern is that she's got of the loss. It isn't the pound that She gave me a quid. No. Same as if, let's say I was your financial advisor, and you're now a very rich guy, because it's 2 or 3 years' time, you've got your million, and you decide that I'm going to offer you some investments. And I say, I've got 2 investments for you, a bit of a dodgy market out there. One of them, it's look for £100,000 investment. You could, over 2 years, it could go two ways. Your maximum loss on that, because it's in the stock market, could be 25%. That's your maximum loss. But your maximum gain could be 25%. That's one investment. Another investment, £100,000 I want again, is you could lose everything, the lot in this investment, slightly more risky. But equally, you could gain about £1 billion. Which investment do you go for?
Depending now or when I'm rich.
Well, when you've got, let's say you've got £300,000 in the bank, and I'm asking you for a third of it.
Okay, third of it, I'm successful. I'll gamble.
Would you? You would gamble. Most people wouldn't. Most people are more driven by fear. When we get into selling this afternoon, I'm going to show you how to do this. Right? How you sell using that. How you sell ladies' makeup. It's all to do with this fear. But seriously, this is serious stuff I'm going to show you here. Serious persuasion. You are more driven as a human being. There's certain parts of your human psychology you cannot overrule. Because it's your amygdala at the top of your brain. See, what makes us different from apes and monkeys and other animals is this part of our brain, the prefrontal cortex, which only we have, we humans, from here upwards. This part of our brain, at the top of the spine, is called the amygdala. And it controls you. Eh?
Or reptilian?
It's the reptile part of your brain. It controls your. You don't have to think about breathing, do you? You just breathe. So you don't have to think about, the blood pumping around your body. It just does it. And this is we humans are more driven by that than anything else. This illusion we have in the prefrontal cortex of making decisions about life just isn't true at all. You can't make somebody love you. You either feel it or you don't. Do you know what I mean? That's the way things are. Sometimes somebody's horribly fallen in love with them, nothing you can do about it. It's being driven by this part of your brain. When a strange man walks through the door, you pick up these signals. Women do it 5 times faster than men because biologically you've got a lot more to lose. Haven't you? You pick the wrong one and do you see what I mean? So you've been given this extra little facility in you which is pretty accurate. Even though you've never met the guy, never spoken to him, you pick up a signal from him. And it's being driven by your amygdala. You can't override. It's terribly difficult to override, as I will show you a bit later on. All I have to do to sell to you is tap into that animal part of your brain. I can get you to do just about anything I want you to do. Anything I want you to do, really. I can hijack your mind. I'm not going to, because this is the power. There's some guys in America a few years ago who wrote a book called The Game, How to Seduce Women. And it was so successful, a simple formula they could apply to women, even the women who knew what was, don't write it down. you can still buy the book. But it was a formula they wrote, they discovered by using all this stuff for meeting women in bars and seducing them the same night. And it was so successful that in the end, one of the guys has a nervous breakdown because, and what actually happened, he genuinely fell in love with a girl and she discovered that she had him on a string. But it's a very interesting book about how it worked. And even when the women knew what was happening to them and knew what the guy's objective was, they still didn't object to it because of their animal sense that this is okay, I'm still in control. I'm making decisions about this. He hasn't trapped me into anything. And they took it step by step down the road. I'll show you how to do it later on if you like, but don't use it badly. I'm giving you stuff here which you could use very badly. But I've got to give it to you because it's all about persuasion. You do want to know about this stuff, don't you? Yeah. Serious stuff. You're playing with people's minds here. But you don't want to know about it, I won't cover it. You do want to know it? Okay. Let's ask you the second set of questions now. 2 questions on this one. So your first one was on maximising your opportunities. Anybody got lesson 11? We've got to have a little think about how you can maximise your opportunities. By the way, the first one there has got a lot to do with something called the 6 degrees of separation. Have you heard of this? It's an experiment. About 20 years ago in New York, one of the professors at New York University died. And it's a custom in America, if somebody dies, to send to the funeral home a little condolence card. And this undertaker said to these other professors, his colleagues, when they came round to arrange his funeral with his family and everything, do you mind if I ask a question? The undertaker said, no, we're all very bright mathematicians. It was very peculiar. When anybody dies, doesn't matter whether they are a pauper or a very rich person, most people tend to get between 220 and 250 condolence cards, which must indicate that every one of us knows, maybe not deeply, maybe not a family member, maybe quite a distant acquaintance, 250 people, up to 250 people who are, we know well enough to call by their first name. Yeah? It's probably the same for most of us if we add it all up. So if we all know or are vaguely acquainted with 250 people, at some point in a country like America of 350 million people, there must be some crossover. Very quickly, I must know somebody that you know. So they set out to prove it. And what they did was, the professors set up an experiment. They got some volunteers, and they gave them a package which they had to get to a stockbroker who lived in Milwaukee. And they said, you can't send it. You can't send it through the post. All you can do is look at your own circle of friends, 200, 250 names, and you have to sit at home one evening and write them all down. And send it to somebody on your list, the best person you think who might know that stockbroker who lives in Milwaukee. Just might. And when your friend gets it, send them the same instructions. Look at your list of contacts and friends. You know, who do you think might know this stockbroker in Milwaukee, and so on and so on. Now, in a country of 350 million people, 10 people took part in the experiment. For each of those 10 people, how many hops on average did it take to find that exact stockbroker in Milwaukee? 350 million people live in America. 6. 6 hops. Da-da, 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 da-da. They did the same experiment 4 or 5 years ago between London and Edinburgh. Now this country is 65, 70 million people live in Great Britain. Same basis, and they said to somebody in London, we've got a whole group of people in London, you've got to get this stockbroker you've got to get this to an address in a person in Edinburgh. How many hops did it take in a country of the same rules of 70 million people, on average, for the package to arrive at the right address? 4. They did the same experiment 2 years ago on the internet. These same people experimented with how we're all very much connected to other people. And they did it between London and China, to a remote village where maybe they only had one laptop. And you had to get it to Mr. Ching Chong Cho, who lives on, I wouldn't say that to the Chinese in the audience. But in this little village in China, how many hops? And 6,500 million people live in the world. Across the internet, using emails, how many hops did that message take to find exactly the right person? 6. This is why you've got to talk to as many people as you can. I'll give you all a little target. I would say to you all, try to get to know every week one new person. Don't have to be their best friend. At the end of a year, you know 50 more people, and it's amazing. I was working with British Gas the other week on BG Exploration out in Reading, and I told the chaps this, and I met one of them last week when I was over there doing a review meeting, and he said, I wouldn't have believed all this, but I was standing next to somebody the other week in Asia, and I was talking to him in the check-in line at the airport, and he was the captain of the Australian rugby team. Huh? I've met people, I've met bank managers, I got a job at in the Supreme Court of Great Britain, so meeting somebody in the queue at Heathrow. I mean, this is real stuff. You never know who you're sitting next to, how rich the people are, how they can help you run your business. Always talk to them. 6 steps. 6 degrees. 6 handshakes away from the person you want to meet. I read a thing years ago in the Reader's Digest. I was waiting in the dentist, and it said, rich people know more people. Get to know people, and then stay in contact with them. It's very important for your success. You get to know as many people as possible. How many of you ever go to networking parties, anything like that? Networking groups? Ever go to networking? Social affairs? Or parties or something like Christmas parties coming up this week, if you go to one where you've been invited, you don't know anybody, here's a little trick. Go up to the nearest group of people and say, excuse me, I don't know anybody here, will you talk to me? Nobody will ever say no to you. Excuse me, I don't know anybody here, will you talk to me? Wouldn't you? Smiley, see? No. You never say, go away, no, I'm not interested in talking to you. Go up to the nearest, the things they will say to you is that was brave. Just go up. Don't hang around looking at the sandwiches and hang around drinking a beer pretending you don't want to talk to people. Go and talk to them. And when you talk to them, don't tell them anything about you. Ask them about themselves. As There's a wonderful book written by a man in 1935 called Dale Carnegie called How to Win Friends and Influence People. If you want to be friends with people, ask them about themselves, because they're not interested in you at all. How did you get here today? Isn't this lovely? Do you come here often? You know, the old hackneyed old lines, but they're the ones that work. Right. The second thing that you've got to be able to do. I often listen, now this is the second two questions I'm going to ask you. I often listen to my gut feel on hunches. I've tried meditation to boost my intuition. Right? There's two things. I often listen to my gut feel and hunches. I've tried meditation. Now in each one of those, the first one, if you never listen to your gut feel, give yourself a 1. If you're always listening to how somebody makes you feel, how situations make you feel, give yourself a 5. If you've never tried meditation once, or at all, give yourself a 1. If it's something you do regularly, give yourself a 5, and anything in between there. Okay? So the question is, how many have you got 10? Anybody? 9? 8? That's good. Very good. That's a high figure. The low figure for that one is 4. So you already do this, so keep doing it. It's very important. You settle your brain down. You know how to meditate, all of you do. I'll show you in a minute how to do it. Show you how to do it very well. Don't lie down, you go to sleep, at least I do. If you've got anything less than a 4 or less, you need to practice this. I'll show you how to do meditation. Okay, just for 10 minutes, right? Don't lie down. Get yourself nice and comfortable sitting in your chair. And listen to my voice. Shut your eyes. Shut your eyes, just relax. Nothing bad's going to happen. And I'd like you to feel your body sitting on the chair. Shut your eyes now. Feel your body sitting on the chair. Feet on the ground. Just listen to my voice. And as my voice goes on like this, I want you to feel yourself becoming more and more relaxed. And focus your attention, first of all, on the tips of your toes. Focus on the tips of your toes. And feel your toes becoming very relaxed. Very relaxed. And as you sit there feeling your toes becoming relaxed, you notice your feet are becoming relaxed as well. And that relaxed feeling is moving up your legs to your knees now, the bottom part of your legs now, very relaxed. Let them go. Like an India rubber band, it's very flexible. Now you feel the relaxedness moving up to your thighs, and then moving up to your lower chest. More and more relaxed. As you hear my voice, you feel yourself getting more relaxed. Now it's moving up, this relaxed feeling, moving up the body, to your shoulders. Now you feel it moving down your arms, down your arms, down your arms to your fingertips. And you're getting relaxed and relaxed. Now feel that relaxed feeling moving back up your arms again. Your body is getting more and more relaxed now. Moving up into your neck now. That relaxed feeling is moving up into your neck. Up into your head. And you feel your whole head relaxing. And your eyes are relaxing. Your cheeks relaxing. You're not grinding your teeth anymore. Just relaxing all of that. And as you've got this completely relaxed feeling now, I want you to imagine that in front of you is a doorway. And in your mind's eye, I want you to step towards that doorway now, open it, and you'll see at the bottom of a very shallow flight of stairs is a lovely, beautiful garden. There are 20 steps down those stairs into the garden. I want you to imagine now that you take that first step down into that beautiful sunlit garden. Take that first step in your mind's eye. And each time you take a step, I'm going to count down. And each time you count down, I count down, you're going to feel yourself getting even more relaxed as you step down into this garden. So it's 20, 19, 18, 17, 19, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, let go now, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, letting go nicely now, 3, 2, 1. Now you're down in the garden, beautiful garden all around you, lovely grass stretching out and beautiful flowers, and it's the most relaxed place you've ever been. I want you to sit there for a minute and just absorb, look around you and see how wonderful it makes you feel to sit in this beautiful place. Stay there until you hear my voice again. Stay there. Now the place you are now is that relaxed state. You're in a state of meditation now. You can stay there as long as you like. But because we have to go over the program, I'm going to bring you out to the count of 3 now. I'm going to count backwards from 3. When I count to 1, you'll come out feeling awake and refreshed and more relaxed than you felt all day. 3, 2, 1. Come out, open your eyes and look around. How'd that feel? You enjoy that?
Yes.
Amazing, isn't it? I only did it for a few minutes. If you can do that once a day for 30 minutes, when you're in this state, you're not asleep, but you're in this very relaxed state, not thinking about work, you're taking yourself down to this place, in this lovely garden. You can do it yourself, you don't have to have me doing the counting. Count yourself down, go from the tips of your toes up here, once a day for 30 minutes, stay in that position. Maybe before you go to bed at night, when you get up in the morning, that's one of the steps you've got to take. Get into that state. You don't have to. You can go to yoga class if you want. You don't have to. Don't lie down in your bed and do it because you'll go to sleep. That's a waste of time. You've got to get in what you call the state of alpha waves in your head. Nothing about work in there at all. Just sit in this lovely, relaxed garden. My garden, I can tell you in my mind's eye, it's your picture. It's halfway down a little hill. It's a flat area, and I can see a little boat out to sea and the thing. I just stay there. Half an hour. That's all you need to do. 30 minutes every day. And you will find often ideas will come to you for things you could do, changes you could make in your life. Let them go. Let those ideas come in. You're letting your brain, we humans only use 10% of our brain. This is getting the other 90% just focused on being relaxed. Did you enjoy that experience? It's good, isn't it? No, where did I put the papers? I put my papers and I put them down. Oh yes. Okay, so that's something you've got to do once a day. Now the next thing is 3 questions again. I believe good things will happen to me. I try to get what I want even if the chance seems slim. I expect other people to be nice. 3 questions. I believe good things will happen to me. If you never believe they happen to you, then give yourself a 1. If you happen to you all the time, 5. I try to get what I want even if the chances seem slim. And I expect other people to be nice. Not people you meet in the street, or people you meet at work or anywhere else. Again, between 1 and 5, depending on where you are on that scale. So, anybody get 15? 14? 13? Good, not bad. 12? 11? 10? 9? 8? 7? 6? Okay, you've really got to be a number 11 here is where your minimum should be. It's amazing, but people who expect to be lucky generally aren't. And there's an amazing experiment that came out of the book that Professor Wiseman wrote. And my son does it. He's 30 odd now, and I've taught him to do this. The most amazing thing, he sometimes comes to stay near my flat in the West End, and comes and has a, like he did turn up late last night, so he didn't do it and stuff. He often says, it's a nice summer's evening, let's come on, let's walk down to Shepherd's Market and have a drink. And on the way down, he'll invariably say, because it worries his mother, but he's a bit of a gambler, let me £5, then I'll go in to put it in a fruit machine. And invariably, he'll come out with a jackpot. But every other time. But more than that, if I'm out just walking down the road with him, every other time I'm out with him, he'll say, look, Dad, what? He said, look, there's £5 there, or there's £10, or there's £15. He finds money all the time. And Professor Wiseman, in his book, where he puts all this up, he had another guy that says he finds this. But he only ever finds it when he's in a happy mood. And my son, I said to my son, how do you do it? Because I don't see money all the time. He said, the best place to look for money, if ever you're short of a tenner or a fiver, look in the supermarket car park. Why do you think? He said, why do you think supermarket car park's a great place to find money?
People come to spend money here, so.
Yeah, well it is, and it's very simple, really. Yeah, exactly. Rushing in and out, they've got kids in a chair and everything else, they go to the shop and put it in the back of the car, take their keys out, and often they've got change in the pocket, the money falls out. But all the time, and about two New Years ago, I went up to Scotland to see some friends of mine, because they love New Year up in Scotland, as you know. And my son wanted to go to the casino with a Scottish Indian friend of mine. And he lost all his money. He lost about £350 in the casino, which for me would be a lot of money. My wife was livid with me because she blamed me for letting him gamble when he was a little boy. But we were standing in the rain. It was really raining terribly hard out there. And we were standing waiting for a taxi to get us back into the main part of Edinburgh. And my son was standing in the pouring wet rain. He just lost £350. My wife was angry with me and everything else. And he said, look there. I said, what? And there in the gutter, in the rain, was £200 somebody had dropped. He took it back in the casino, won all his money back. And it doesn't just happen to him sometimes, it happens to him all the time. He expects good luck. He expects to be lucky, and he is. So rather than expecting people to be nasty to you, or if you bring them up and go on a appointment, expect them to see in your mind's eye, imagine them smiling at you. Go into things. I once won a competition. I won in my, just, again, it's peculiar the way this happened. I was about 20 years ago, my little boy was small. I got rushing out to buy some screws and some nails one Saturday morning in Bromley, where I live. And we went down to a do-it-yourself shop called Great Mills. Out in the, they're gone to defunct now, but out in the foyer, they had a car, and it's a big thing, so win this car. And it's one of these in-store promotions. You had to fill in a little entry form of different products that they had, and then think of a motto or something for the store. And I remember filling in this thing, and I was in a hurry because I was hungry. I wanted to get home. My wife had lunch on and everything else. My son was worrying me like kids do. Come on, Dad, go to do it. Win a car, win a car. Then you've got to think of a slogan for the shop. I'm just sitting in the car. I said, well, hurry up. He says, I buy Great Mills products because, and I wrote a little poem. Just came to my mind like that. No money, little time, few DIY skills, but my home is a palace because of own brand Great Mills. I stuck it in the box. 4 weeks later, I got a letter. Do me a favor, you want a car. Here's the interesting thing. I said, why did I win? Why me out of everybody else? You know what the man said, the manager of the shop? He said, you were the only person who entered. You were the only person who entered. That's the way life is, chaps. Years ago, my parents couldn't afford, we lived in Wales, my parents couldn't afford to buy me a bicycle. Us kids, we always had to have jobs and paper rounds and things. And I had a second-hand bike, and it was 1960, and I was in the shop waiting for the paper train to come down from London in those old-fashioned days. And it was a lot of snow, because the train was late. It was about February I can't remember now, about 1960-ish, yeah, it was. And the train hadn't come down from London, and I was sitting in the newspaper shop reading a magazine, which is now not available anymore, called The Boy's Own Paper. In the middle of it, it said again, win a bike. Win a bike. And you've got to tick off the different attributes of a bicycle, whether it's got nice tyres pumped up and oiled and all that sort of thing. I just filled the thing in, sent it off, I want a bike. And they had 4 bikes, and it was back then £25 a lot of money, bicycle value of £25. They also had £100 in this competition. They'd chosen one boy from Wales, one from England, one from Ireland, one from Scotland. I just happened to be the kid who entered in Wales. So what I'm saying to you, step up. Do Every opportunity you're offered, expect to be good. Are you going to win every time? No. When you next time you go on a flight to a holiday destination or somewhere, ask for an upgrade. You'd be amazed how many times you get it. And how annoyed it makes your friends, which is really good, when they don't get it. Ask for it again. Expect to be lucky. Set this expectation feeling up in your heart. Talk about, let's give it a go. Do the Richard Branson thing. Screw it, let's do it. Who knows what's going to happen? I think most people are pretty nice, personally, in my experience. Life tends to be a reflection of what you have in your own heart. Right, let's look at the fourth and final thing now. I tend to look on the bright side of life. I believe even negative events will turn out okay. I don't tend to dwell on my past setbacks and failures, and I try to learn from past mistakes. So, let's go through them again. I tend to look on the bright side of life. If you always do, give yourself a 5. If you never do, give yourself a 1. I believe even negative events will turn out okay. I tend not to dwell on my past setbacks and failures. If you don't dwell on them, just give yourself a 5. If you're always dwelling on them, give yourself a 1. I try to learn from my past mistakes. If you always do that, give yourself a 5. Not give yourself a 1.
Can you say them again?
Yes, I tend to look on the bright side of life. I believe even negative events will turn out okay. I tend not to dwell on my past mistakes and failures. I try to learn from past mistakes. There's 4 separate questions. Add up your results there. The maximum that one, of course, you get is 20, 5 falls in 20. The minimum is 4. So let's add up. So how many have you got 20? Anybody? 19? 18? Very good. You've got 18. That's excellent. 17? 6? Very good as well. 16? 16 is about the minimum for that one. Because most people in life, when they hit a setback, they tend to go down with it. So here's life. Here's a good day, +10. Here's a bad day, -10. Most people are going down along about this. Life's okay, it's all right. And then they hit a little setback and they go down into the big hole, don't they? Why do you think most people go down there and stay down there? Why? They dwell on it, but something else is even more basic. Why do you think most people, when they hit a setback, oh God, it's terrible. Yeah, they're lazy. It's easier, isn't it? It's easier when you hit a setback to blame the setback for all your past things and past relationships you've had with people. Listen, there isn't going to be a yesterday. That was happened. There is not going to be a yesterday. There's nothing you can do about yesterday. I'm sorry, there isn't. All you can do is now in the present. Here's a little exercise for you. I'd like you to imagine you've just come home from work, and there on your front gate post or your front door is a note from your partner or spouse, which says this: you'll notice that I've burnt the house down. I've taken all the money out of the bank. I've taken the kids, we're okay, we're very happy. Goodbye. I'd like you all to write down 5 reasons this is the best thing that ever happened to you. Lucky people, there's only a little exercise, lucky people will start to write immediately. Lucky people start to write immediately. Because, as William Shakespeare said, in your life, all there are events. There's nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Now, I know I'm not asking you on the day that your grandma dies to walk around saying, hurrah, isn't it a great life, great day. But the way lucky people handle the setbacks in their life is very important. They learn from them. They don't try and repeat every day the things that didn't work yesterday. It's a recipe for disaster. Things are going to happen to you that you won't like, but hey, you've got to deal with it. So the worst way to deal with it is to settle back and say, what have I learned from this? You know, I listened to, before my daughter got married, I used to listen to her talking to her friends on the telephone. And these girls will go up with the same bloke over and over again, although it was always a heartbreaker or whatever it is. What did you do it? You knew what happened last time. Do you think it was going to be different this time? One definition of madness is to do the same things that didn't work today and expect them to work tomorrow. Not going to work. Fine. You know, here's the way you handle life. There's a formula. E equals R plus O. Formula for dealing with the unhappy events in your life. Just imagine, let's just imagine something. You get up in the morning and you suddenly realise it's Monday, oh God. And you go into the bathroom and there's no toothpaste, there's no toilet paper, the soap's run out, and then you go down to get the kids ready for school, and you've got them all in nice clean uniforms, one of them spills cereal all down themselves, then they start to have a fight, and then one gets, you've been in that house, haven't you?
No, I just worked out what that is.
Right.
As well.
Right. That's your experience. Now what do you think by the time, you know, you've got up at 6:30 in the morning, and you've had all these little setbacks during the day, and then you're driving into work, or you drive and somebody cuts you up, and then you're kind of half an hour late. What do you think? How do you think you're going to feel when you get into work? You get into your place of work. You've had a row with your boyfriend, or girlfriend, or wife, husband, you know, all these little things.
You feel stressed.
You feel stressed, and what will your responses would be?
You feel stressed, you feel bad.
And if somebody says to you now, can I have some help with this project, what are you going to say? No, you're going to. Right? I'm sick and tired of this. I'm fed up. Funny, I was sitting in the reception here this morning and I heard people getting late on the tube and people coming, oh, it's terrible, and on the lines morning, and the place was going. Huh? This response they had to their experiences, what sort of an outcome is their day going to have?
Negative one.
Going to be negative. So experience plus response equals, experience plus response should be a plus sign, equals outcome. I beg your pardon. Right? Let's say the same things had happened to you before you got up this morning. You get up late, there's no toothpaste, no toilet paper, kids spill stuff down themselves, you have to put a new school uniform on or something like that and get cleaned up. But you decide you're going to react differently to it. Ah, it's just life. Doesn't matter that much. We're all still here. Yeah? In the whole scheme of things, I'm sorry I shouted at the kids, they're only kids after all. And let's put a smile on my face. The little things, in the whole scheme of things, what do you think, what kind of outcome is my day going to have now? The same things happened to me, but I responded to it in a different way. What sort of a day am I going to have now? Yeah. Like that girl Stacey, aren't I? That we were discussing a thing. Things happened to her. She didn't say, oh, it's terrible, I'm not going to eat these awful things in my mouth. And these awful maggots put over my head. We were talking earlier about, you were here. Right? Her response to some of these things was completely different. So what sort of an outcome? She won. Didn't she? She had the same experience as everybody else, but her response was very different. And the response here is something you have total control over. If you decide you want to have a row with your missus, that's fine. That's a decision you're both coming to. All right? Because you've got to get something off your chest. But if you say, look, let's not argue about this, this is great. No, it doesn't really matter that much. I'll give the kids a lift to school. I'm often fuming. I mean, I'm not immune from this. I'm often late for places. I'm in a taxi halfway down the Strand or something. I think, oh shit, I'm going to be late. Hey, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. I've got a mobile phone in my pocket. I can call my client. I can say, I'm terribly sorry. I left on time, but now I'm going to be late. How's my day going to turn out now?
Could be good, could be bad, could be good.
Yeah, but I'm not giving it a chance, if I can, for the outcome to be poor, am I? If, you see, I react by shouting and screaming, I can remember as a young man doing this a lot. When the kids are small, there's always aggravation, and who's got kids here? They say you should never hit children when you're angry. When can you hit them? Do you see what I'm saying? Sometimes kids are really a pain in the arse, but they're only kids. And it's very peculiar for me, because both my kids are married now, and the other Saturday I was out in the shed at the bottom of the garden, straightening up the bicycles. And I thought, why am I straightening up the bicycles when I'm not coming back? My mother's mother said to her when she was shouting at us one day the house will be quiet, and then you'll be unhappy. One day the kids won't be here. And every time you leave something, it'll be there when you come home. There'll be no toys. Where you leave it, that's where they'll be, because the kids are gone. Is that going to make you happy? Ah,
Content.
see? Start to think about this. And ask what you want. I wish the kids were gone, I wish they were gone. Now you're happy.
Sometimes you wish your bill was in.
Aha! I'm telling you, it's a difficult time, you know? We all know that how frustrating it is. So make your response, decide to put a smile on your face. I'm saying, not the day your grandma dies or something bad, really bad happens, but most of the time, 95% of the time, be like that girl Stacey. Something good, say, I'm so glad to be alive, so glad that happened. There's a little prayer for religious people, which is something a lot of my American friends find useful. Good morning, God. I don't know what you've got in store for me today, but I'm looking forward to being part of it. No? Seriously. Go up with that sort of attitude. Change your attitude. Bad things are going to happen to you. You can't do anything about it. And these are the four things. The four things. And what I want you to do, if you care to do this before you come back to the next module, is go and buy a cheap exercise book from Ryman's or something like that, and mark pages 1 to 30, from starting today if you like. Because I want to prove to you this works in the next 30 days. And for each day, keep a little log, a little record of what happened when you tried to introduce these different behaviours into your life. Did you try and meet somebody or talk to somebody in the post office or in the bank or in the plane or wherever you have to be? Number 2, did you walk around expecting to be lucky, expecting to be in the right line at the post office, expecting to get a particular customer to pay on time? When something bad happened to you, did you, while it was happening to you, did you stop thinking like that and thinking, oh, I could respond to this, and I'm going to force a smile onto my face and feel better about it. I'm going to use that girl Stacey as my model. Oh, lucky I am to be alive. That's what she used to say. Wonderful attitude to life. And then once a day, 30 minutes, do your meditation, just like I showed you how to do. Relax yourself from top to bottom, then take your 20 steps down the lovely garden. Stay there for 30 minutes. If you can't measure 30 minutes, set your alarm clock up on your telephone or something like that to ring you, to bring you out of it. Do it 30, and then come back in 30 days' time from now, let's say, whatever it is, the 15th, today is it the 15th? To the 15th of Jan, see what happens. Come back and tell me you didn't get lucky. 87% of people, very precise number, said they did get lucky. And if you really thought you were lucky, they tend to get even luckier. When you feel yourself starting to worry, get yourself out there. Start talking to people, chatting to them. Don't say to yourself, by the way, I'm not going to feel worried, because your brain cannot hold a negative thought. If I say to you, don't think about pink elephants, what do you think about? See? Make it a positive affirmation. These are the 4 things that lucky people do. Any one of you can copy them. Whether you decide to is up to you. Buy a cheap book, mark the pages 1 to 30 every day, keep a record of what happened. Did you try and make contact? Did you expect to be lucky? How did you respond differently to when you had a few setbacks? And did you do your meditation for 30 minutes? First thing in the morning, last thing at night, and everything else. Keep a little log. Keep it private. If you don't want to, if you're too embarrassed to let other people see it, that's fine. I want you to come back at the end of 30 days and tell me you didn't get it. Do you want to have another 5-minute peep? What I'm going to do, 5-minute comfort break, I'm sorry. I'm going to go on for another 50 minutes. Is that all right? And then we'll have some lunch after that, 1:30. Is that all right? Are you all starving now? I don't know. It's up to you, because I've got one more module to do for the morning set. It's up to you, Brady Bondley. You're the...
well, sorry, I thought, I mean, sure, I'd go for it if they're not hungry, if they're hungry.
Right, go have a quick comfort break, then be back here by 1:45. Anybody who needs to go to the toilet,
Yeah.
and then come back, and I'm going to show you how to break through these wooden boards in the next